once, but my ass.
I'm only 4. Bonjour, Monsieur Pussycat.
Cracking toast, Robert.
Start spreading the news.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the short podcast about short films. I am your host, and we are discussing the Academy Award for Best Animated Short. Today's episode is about the 89th year of the award at the 93rd Academy Awards, which celebrates the films of 2020 and 2021. Today's guest is appearing for the 9th time. Over the course of this podcast, you heard him talk about films like The Old Mill, Tweety Pie, The Pink Fink, A Christmas Carol, Manipulation, The Danish Poet, Richard Jewell, The Lost Thing, and Bear's Story. Please welcome back Gordon McNulty. Hello, Gordon.
Hello, I'm glad to be back. I'm glad you said 9. That's a lot of podcasts.
Yep, this is your 9th episode.
That's crazy.
And you're tied with 2 other people for second most amount of episodes.
Oh, wow.
That's why you're here.
That is why I'm here. Hello. Always happy to be back.
But yeah, it's always an honor to have you back. You're always such a joy to have on this podcast. Clearly why I keep bringing you back. But
much appreciated.
But yeah, and so since we're kind of in the victory lap of this podcast, entering the last 4 years, the 2020s, I have a different opening question for you this time.
Good, because I was gonna make a joke about it. How I have no familiarity with the category. So hit me with this new question, friend.
All right. So when you look back over the category and the films we've talked about together, what stands out to you? What do you think of the category as a whole?
It's a good I'm glad this category exists. It feels like there easily could have been a whole, nearly 100 years of the Academy without the short film categories, and it wouldn't feel that different as a whole. But I'm glad we do have this category in particular, because it's a way to recognize a lot of talent and a lot of interesting things and things outside the box that they don't usually go for anywhere else. And it has highlighted a lot of shorts I wouldn't have otherwise even had a reference for. So it has exposed me to very interesting things, and it's a cool category. It gets, discounted a lot, but it's cool. And I'm glad to have this podcast as an outlet for me to explore some of those avenues.
Yeah, I totally agree on it. It's just like there's a very easy reality where you could imagine the Academy just getting rid of all the short film categories in the 1960s, when the Hollywood studios stopped making short films for theaters and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just I don't know why they didn't do that, honestly, because I feel like they wouldn't care to keep this going. But for some reason, they didn't think to get rid of it. Maybe it's because they think so little of it already. They just forgot that they were still doing it year after year. I don't know. But I'm very thankful they kept these categories going. Less so for live action documentary, because those ones are often worse. But animated short especially, love these films. Of course, because I made this podcast. And
it would be wild if you hated this concept.
It would have been very funny if I did this podcast, made it all the way to the end, and just suddenly realize I hate this category. But
we still have everyone.
But we still have time for that to happen, especially considering the films that have won these last 4 years.
You still have some boys and moles and foxes and herons to contend with.
Yes. But
not herons. The boy and the heron is a different thing. It's horse.
Yeah,
horse was the other
animal.
Joke. That wasn't even a joke. That was just me caring so little for that short that I didn't bother to remember the full title.
It's a horse. It's a horse. My kingdom for a horse.
A horse. God, no. The horse wasn't Idris Elba. The horse was Stephen Ray.
Was Idris Elba in that short?
Yeah, he's one of them.
I have not done that episode yet.
Yeah,
for this
that's in the future.
Let me just look up this casting, because I forgot how
it's
stacked
Idris
it is.
Elba, and I think Stephen Ray, the guy from The Crying Game, is one of them. And
no, it's Gabriel Byrne.
Gabriel Byrne. They look alike, and in my mind, I was picturing the face, even though it's an animated short.
Yeah.
And then who's the third one?
But Idris Elba is the fox and Tom Hollander is the mole.
Right. So Gabriel Byrne is then the horse, I imagine,
Yes.
by process of
Yeah.
elimination of what animals there are left.
Yeah. He's
But
not
we're
the
not talking
boy.
about that. Yes, no, the boy was, I imagine, a boy.
Yeah, it was just a generic boy
Just
actor.
regular boy. Anyway, that's
Jude
not what we're here
Coward
to talk
Nickel.
about. Sure.
Anyway, but yeah, we love this category here, folks. But before we get to talk about this category more, there is also a Best Animated Feature category at the Academy Awards. So to be fair to them, Gordon, I will just list off the names of the nominees for Best Animated Feature this year, and I want you to tell me in just one word what you think of them, or simply say you haven't seen it if you haven't seen it. You
I've seen
ready?
them all. I've seen everything this year. This was like a year where I watched every nominee in every category. So I have seen these all.
Well,
I don't remember what they all are though.
that's good to hear. But let's just get right into them. So first we have the winner, which is Soul.
Good.
Number two, we have Onward.
Boring.
Number three, we have Over the Moon.
Bad. Like actively bad. Did not like that one.
I would have swapped Over the Moon and Onward for those words, but anyway. Uh, four is a Shaun the Sheep movie, Farmageddon.
Charming.
And number five, we have Wolf Walkers.
Great. Very good. Love Cartoon Saloon, right? That's them?
That's Cartoon Saloon.
Yes. Love them.
And before we move, I forgot to look this up, but were you on the episode where the first Shaun the Sheep movie was nominated?
What year would that have been?
Ah, fuck. I think it's
Wasn't that 2015?
yeah,
So
like
the
did we
yeah.
have a conversation about how the title Shaun the Sheep movie doesn't make sense?
Yes, but I think
Okay.
it's funny.
But I just wanted to say I'm so glad they fucking changed the title for the sequel. It's a Shaun the Sheep movie this time.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy about that.
Well, you couldn't call it the Shaun the Sheep movie. That's too many thes in there.
But yeah, it's just like but before it was just Shaun the Sheep movie, which
Yeah.
implies that it's a sheep movie about Shaun, or it's like
Yes.
sheep is the adjective for movie there. But in this case, they make it clear that Shaun the Sheep has a movie.
The Shaun the Sheep, the movie, and the horse.
The Shaun the Sheep, the movie, and the horse.
Yep. We did it. We did it. We got there. Two things entirely unrelated to this episode.
Our first nominee and the year's winner is If Anything Happens, I Love You, directed by Will McCormick and Michael Govier. This is the first and so far only nomination and win for both McCormick and Govier, and the first nomination and win for Netflix in this category. McCormick and Govier are both actors by trade, but also wish to be behind the camera as well. McCormick has been seen in things like Sopranos, The Shield, Syriana, and The Office, and also wrote the film Celeste and Jesse Forever, while Govier has appeared on Conan and This Is Us. They first met only a few years prior to making today's short film in an acting class together. They became fast friends and started discussing film ideas they could make together. This film originated with them wanting to tell a story about grief, especially what it's like to lose a child, as the two men are both fathers. As stories of gun violence in schools appear constantly in American news, they wanted to make a film that tackled that, showing how it impacts the parents. Once they had the story of the film down, they sought out animators to actually make the film, finding Jungran No, a Cal Arts graduate. A funny anecdote I found is that one of the inspirations for the film is a previous Oscar-winning short, Father and Daughter. McCormick and Govier loved the tone and feel of that film, and then when they started describing their film to No, she said, "You know what this reminds me of? Father and Daughter." I'll also mention here that despite the winners being two men, the production featured many women, including producers Marianne Garger, Laura Dern, and Rashida Jones, composer Lindsay Marcus, and the entire animation team is all female animators. When asked about this, Will McCormick said to Govier, "Michael, I love working with you as a man, but I love your feminine qualities." And I just really wanted to share that quote.
Yeah.
Moving on. One of the main ideas of the film was minimalism, trying to evoke every emotion with as little as possible. No dialogue, limited 2D animation, and the only objects on screen being things relevant to what they're trying to show, or at least that's what they said. The production itself was also quite limited. The filmmakers talk about how they don't have the resources to work out the film in storyboards and animatics, and essentially had to make the film more like a traditional live action film, with writing a script and then just animating it. The film ended up being released on Netflix and immediately went viral, especially on TikTok. Users would record themselves watching the movie and show themselves being reduced to tears. If Anything Happens, I Love You starts with a man and a woman sadly eating dinner while their shadows silently argue at each other. As they leave the table, they see things around the house. The dad smiles at a splotch of blue paint on the wall. The mom closes the door to a room the cat wants to enter, and she finds a blue shirt in the wash and holds it close. Then a soccer ball falls off the washer, rolls through three different rooms, and hits a record player to start it. The parents follow the music into the room of their daughter and reminisce together. A shadow child emerges from the record player and plays with the cat and hugs the shadow parrots. We then see a flashback montage of the family life. A vacation to Grand Canyon, a birthday party, the origin of the blue splotch of paint on the wall. When the parents send her off to school, the shadow parents try to stop her. When the, we then hear shots ring out in the school, children scream, police sirens blare. The daughter sends a text message, "If anything happens, I love you," before we hear another gunshot and the screen going black. The film ends with a fantasy sequence of the shadow daughter preventing the parents from walking away from one another, and then they finally let themselves cry. One last note, at the Oscars this year, when reading out the nominees, Reese Witherspoon read out some details about each of the nominees' favorite movies and their movie watching habits, and I will recount those same anecdotes here. Michael Govier's favorite film is Citizen Kane. He's loved it since he was 12 years old. Meanwhile, Will McCormick loves Ordinary People and also pouring milk duds into his popcorn, which Reese Witherspoon tries her best to connect to Ordinary People with for some reason. But personally, I
I didn't
also love.
remember that.
Yeah, it's like she calls it like gooey and strange, just like Ordinary People. It's just
Okay, Reese.
okay,
Sure.
Reese. Have you seen Ordinary People?
Has Reese Witherspoon ever encountered a milk dud in her life? I bet not.
Yeah. Yeah, personally, I also love Ordinary People, but I put Reese's Pieces in my popcorn. But
Hey,
Gordon,
Reese is
oh,
like
that
like
wasn't
Reese
even
like Reese
intentional.
Witherspoon.
That wasn't even
What?
intentional. I just enjoy putting Reese's Pieces in my popcorn. It's like it's salty and sweet.
Yeah,
But yeah,
just like ordinary people.
just like if anything happens, I love you. Gordon,
Yeah,
what did you think of today's film?
I have complicated feelings about this one.
Tell us
I
more.
I think it's a good short. I think I really struggled in watching it this time around in placing whether I think the it, is this a manipulative short or am I just cynical? Like, am I just sort of pushing back against the potentially obviousness of it, or is it just, really, trying to get me to have an emotional reaction, like you mentioned with the sort of viral nature of people crying at it on TikTok, which itself feels kind of weird and performative to do with
Hmm.
something like this. Like, is this does this have something to say, or is it just sort of milking this kind of tragedy for sympathy points? And I don't really know where I come down on it because there's things here that I think are really good and really well done. And there's other things that I think feel kind of superficial to it. I, at a certain point, was like trying to like rub my screen because it felt like there was grit on it, or like something that was on my screen and like, blocking, and it's there's like an artificial grain on the entire short, like on the outsides of the frame and like sort of interspersed through the sparseness of the frame. There's just like little dots of film grain that felt like I didn't really understand what they were trying to achieve visually with that, other than it being there for the sake of it being there.
Hmm.
And just like, like you said, the animation is done very intentionally sparsely to try to, so that everything in the frame is there for a reason. And I don't know what am I supposed to get from that visually, other than here's a sort of vignette of gray for the sake of it. I don't know. There's stuff here that like there's stuff that works. Um, throughout periodically, I was like muting it to be like, okay, am I feeling because of the animation, because of the short, or because of this very intense, sad score.
The music's terrible
Yeah,
just
the
throughout.
music, then the King Princess needle drop in the middle for this 10-year-old has on vinyl a King Princess thing that like I don't know.
Yeah.
And there's good. I think the stuff with the shadows is well done. It did get me emotional. That's the thing. It's like I wasn't unmoved by this short. I just had a hard time figuring out whether I was moved by the content or moved by the people making the short really wanting me to be moved for the sake of being moved. It's a complicated show. I don't hate it. I don't think it's outright manipulative or bad, but
Mhm.
I just have a complicated like I don't quite know how I feel about it, if that makes sense. I don't know. How do you feel about this one? I'll open it up to conversation.
Yeah, I definitely agree with a lot that you're saying, and I was also having like a similar like debate in my mind, like is this manipulative? And I think I find I got my answer like while you were talking, just like thinking more on it, and I think the answer is no, they're just not very good at what they're doing. I think this is just a
It's
poorly
possible.
made film, and it's just like it. What this really is just kind of basic all around. Like it wants to do this like story of grief that we've like there's a lot of shorts that are about like grief. Well, not a lot, but there are definitely a handful of shorts that are about grief in this category. And I feel
And in
like
this year, in this like this is also the year of Two Distant Strangers, one live action short, right? Which is also about a young
yes,
person getting shot. And the documentary short didn't go
the
to that. But there
documentary
was a
short is Colette. That's about like a
right.
Holocaust survivor.
But there was another one in the documentary short category that I thought was going to win at the time that was also about a young person getting shot. And it just felt very like I think on its own, I don't necessarily feel that strongly about this short being manipulative, but in a year where there's a lot of short films that are like the Academy is nominating them because they're important and they make you feel about so like it just feels like it's painting with very broad strokes about school shootings are bad and they make people feel sad. And like
Yeah.
I didn't need to watch If Anything Happens, I Love You to understand that.
Yeah, and the thing is like while I'm watching this, it does get me a little bit emotional, but just because like it is just like overly trying to make you emotional, and it's just like none of it feels like real emotions though. It just feels so manufactured to me, just like they're trying to make you sad. But then again, it's like I don't even think that like it's as like manipulative as like some other nominees. Like I absolutely despise the short film Kit Bull because that one is absolutely just manipulative, just trying to make you feel sad, and it's just terrible. But this one, I feel like it's a bit better. It's more just about it. They're trying to make a short about grief rather than like school shootings. But at
Yeah.
that same time, the school shooting sequence is terrible. I think it's just so poorly done. Like having the shadows desperately try to prevent the daughter from going to the school, and it's just like it goes on for way too long, and just that sequence is like the main thing I feel like is a bit manipulative. But like
Yeah.
outside of that, it's just I feel like it's a fine short about grief, but doesn't do anything better. It doesn't
I
do anything
think, yeah.
exceptionally well.
Yeah.
Well,
I think like I was reading sort of, or I was skimming the Wikipedia page for this short, and at least from what it seemed like they decided they wanted to make this about grieving and then just sort of landed on school shootings as their avenue for that. Like
yeah.
it doesn't feel like they necessarily had the strongest like we need to make this, about the epidemic of school shootings in this country. It's just sort of like, well, that's something that makes people grieve. Let's go with that route. So like it really feels like it doesn't have a perspective beyond school shootings are bad.
Yeah.
And like it sort of has that over the backdrop of one of the few things that is shown in color rather than black and white is the American flag that you're looking at
I didn't
when
even
you
notice
hear,
that. Oh my
yeah,
God.
like when you're in the school and you hear the shots and then the sounds of children screaming, that's all off screen, and all you're looking at is the big American flag that's up on the wall. And like that's getting to something kind of. But like I don't know, I was also looking at the Letterboxd page for this short, and like the most popular review is someone commenting on that, and it has like 13,000 likes. And like, you know, not that that's a bad review, but it's like it's not the most subtle visual thing either.
Hmm.
And it doesn't have to. That's the other thing. It doesn't have to be subtle. Like
Yeah.
I'm not going into this expecting some grand metaphor, but also like I don't know. You could have put a bit more thought into
It's
like
just
this
a
is
bit shallow is the real
it's a
thing.
16-minute short where from the beginning you kind of know exactly what's going to happen. You
Yeah.
know, or at least you can assume pretty quickly what's going to happen. I remember when I watched this the first time, I didn't know it was about a school shooting, but very quickly I was like, oh, the kid died in a school shooting. And then 10 minutes later, the kid dies in a school shooting, and n nothing really else has happened. I don't know. There's just
Yeah.
not a whole lot to it. For a moment of levity in this conversation, I did watch this on Netflix because, like you said, I was very surprised that is that still the only Netflix nominee in this category?
Next year is Robin Robin. That was a Netflix film.
Right, right. So I was watching this on Netflix, and the autoplay over, like while the credits were playing, it was like coming up next, young Sheldon, and just
Yeah,
that juxtaposition,
from the
regardless
victim
of
to the perpetrator.
oh no, no,
That's a
no,
bad joke. I should have said that.
oh boy. Um, yeah, just the sad music over the credits of this up in the corner, well, big across my screen is little young Sheldon standing there staring me dead in my eyes, just telepathically sending Bazinga right into my brain while I'm sitting with this short. Um,
But the thing is that
Netflix's algorithm is fucked.
the thing is though, I would rather have been watching Young Sheldon than this. Young Sheldon
Honest,
is a surprisingly decent show.
I would kind of believe that almost, at least to a degree. Like, yeah, this is it. Just I'm not gonna go so far as to call this like tragedy porn, but it
Yeah.
does feel very much like first and foremost, it is a short designed to make you feel sad and to make you think,
Hmm.
and it doesn't have much to make you think about other than school shootings bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say that the film that inspired them, Father and Daughter, is much better than this. It's
That's believable.
yeah. You should check it out. It's really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't think it's terrible. I think some of the animation is good. I just, as a whole, am kind of nonplussed by it.
yeah, it's like it overall, like I would be a bit just like kind of whatever about it were it not for the fact that the music is just so terrible. Like that's the thing that
Yeah.
really puts it into bad territory for me, especially the King Princess Neil Drop, who I don't know who King Princess is. I just found that out from you right now.
I know
Um,
the name. I don't know anything about their music.
uh, but it is just so out of place. And especially like considering like you said, this is supposed to be like some 10-year-old's like favorite song or whatever. And it's
That
just
she
like
has on a
that she
vinyl.
has on vinyl. And I
Eh,
kind of emphasize this in my little speech about the plot. But that whole like Rube Goldberg machine of the ball falling off and rolling
Yeah.
all the way into the closed room, mind you. She closed the
Yeah.
door to that room, and yet the ball was somehow able to make it in and hit the fucking record. Like,
It also just like, physically doesn't feel like it makes sense because I had just sort of assumed that when the mom went to where the washer and dryer were, that's probably in the basement of this two-story house. And it
yeah.
seemed like the girl's bedroom was on the second floor. And I'm sure it's just, when you are doing everything very minimally, you're not fleshing out this house, and it all feels very empty and just like, well, there has to be a direct line from this, you know, washroom all the way to the kid's bedroom. Not that that's an issue with the
Yeah.
short. It just took me out a bit of like, oh, visually, I was not, I did not follow what the supposed physics of this space is.
Yeah. Like yeah, that is just a fucking nitpick on my part, but I just thought it was
Yeah,
funny.
yeah, no, it was a little moment of oddness.
But yeah, this is just a mediocre short film that I both have no idea how it won, but know exactly why it won. It's like,
Same for the boy, the mole, etc.
yeah.
Very like that whole year, which you'll cover soon.
Hmm.
Or that whole year, what am I talking about? I watched the shorts like 2 weeks before the Oscars. But in that time, I was very like, there's no way this is gonna win. It's bad and sappy and just emotionally very open and obvious. I should have just thought about how this won and resigned myself to the fact that that was always going to win.
Yeah, like the thing about that, I mentioned this on the next episode, which I've already recorded at this point, but um the thing with next year is that the two main things that were like competing against each other were the windshield wiper was a very emotion heavy short film about like relationships and stuff, and then there's the 30-minute long British film Robin Robin, and it's just like, wow, those 30-minute long British films never win. And but I voted for it. I predicted it anyway because it was the only thing that felt like an actual winner of that year, because it's like it's made for kids and family friendly and all that. It's
Yeah.
just like everything else has like sex scenes and violence and whatever. But but yeah, Windshield Wiper ends up winning. And so the next year it's like, well, these 30-minute long British movies never win. So I'll go for The Ice Merchants, which is one, much better, and
Should have
two,
won.
it two is like very emotionally poignant. But then no, the 30-minute long British movie wins for the first time ever.
Oh God. It's just I don't envy whoever. I mean, I kind of envy that person because they get to talk trash about that short, but also that means they have to watch that short. So,
Yeah, me and Zeta are gonna have a very fun time.
oh boy. Good luck to you both.
Yeah, that's kind of the like of these last four episodes. That's the one I'm looking forward to the most because I feel like me and Zeta are gonna have so much fun. One, tearing into Boy, Mole, Fox, and Horse, and two, talking about like the flying sailor. An ostrich told me the world is fake, and I think I believe it, and things like that. It's just like
And My Year of Dicks.
in
Don't,
my
don't
year of
forget about
dicks,
My Year of
just
Dicks.
saying that title, and
Yeah,
yeah, it's a fun year to talk about. I feel like
it is.
yeah, but anyway.
Four great shorts and one that won.
Yeah, I would personally say the same about this year, though
I
we'll
can't
get to
get
the
quite
one
that
that
far,
we
but
disagree with
yeah.
on.
I don't even disagree. I just like we'll get to it. Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
get to it.
We'll get to it.
But do you have anything else you'd like to say about If Anything Happens, I Love You?
Not really. Uh no.
All right, I'll
No.
just end this with saying I love you, Gordon. I'm glad you're on here.
I love you too.
All right, our second nominee is Burrow, directed by Madeline Sharafian. This is the first and so far only nomination for both Sharafian and producer Michael Caparet. This is also, or Capera, might be, I didn't look up pronunciation of that. This is also the 17th nomination for Pixar, the second one from Pixar's Spark Short series, which allows Pixar animators the resources to make their own short films, teaching them how to lead a project and manage their time and budget. Madeline Sharafian went to Cal Arts and specialized in character animation and made several 2D animated short films while there, her most widely seen being Omelette. From there, she mainly got work as a writer and storyboard artist, working on the show We Bear Bears for Cartoon Network before moving over to Pixar sometime around 2015. There, she worked as a story artist on Coco and its accompanying short Dante's Lunch, was head of story on Turning Red, and also collaborated with fellow Pixar animator Trevor Jimenez on his Oscar-nominated short Weekends. But let's talk about Burrow. The story originated from her first couple years at Pixar, feeling a little like she was out of her depth and lacking a lot of confidence in herself, which also led to her being a bit isolated from her coworkers, not wanting to ask for help from anyone, leading to a lot of late nights and weekends at the company. She combined this feeling with her long-held love of rabbits and started developing the story of a rabbit moving into a new burrow and being intimidated by her neighboring animals. With this, she was selected for the Spark Shorts program, and soon after, her film entered the 6-month production cycle. This is not a lot of time to make a film, but they found ways to stretch that time. First, before production, Sharafian personally made a lot of storyboards for the film, which was, of course, immensely helpful. They even would trace the storyboards sometimes for the backgrounds in order to save time, which is not typically done on animated films, but it worked for this. And second, the choice to make the film in 2D rather than 3D was partially to help save time, not only because Sharafian is more well versed in 2D, but also the varying characters in the film. It becomes a lot simpler to just hand draw these characters rather than personally building all the character rigs for characters who will only be on screen for a few seconds. And it also allows for more freedom of expression, where the main rabbit especially could have all kinds of facial expressions without the need to rig the model to do that. There was also the lack of dialogue. It's helpful, but that approach can make the film seem a bit empty. They didn't want to hire a voice actor for sound effects, so they just found videos and audio files of animal noises and put those in whenever a character needs to express something. Something that really helped both Sharafian and the film was how she would personally meet with every person working on the film each day. The meetings helped catch any errors early on without having to waste much time fixing them, but also helped her get to know her team better and really put her more at ease while being in a leadership position for the first time. This is actually what she says is what she's gained the most from the experience of making Burrow. She's a lot less afraid to speak up in meetings and of course learn to ask for help from her colleagues when needed. Unlike previous Spark shorts, Burrow was meant to premiere in theaters alongside Soul rather than on YouTube or Disney Plus. However, with the pandemic, it still ended up premiering on Disney Plus, but it was still at least on the same day as Soul. Burrow is about a rabbit trying to make a new home for herself. She has rather modest plans for herself, but she's happy with them. That is, until she meets the neighbors. When she starts seeing the burrows of other creatures, much more intricate and expansive than hers, she gets embarrassed and moves somewhere else. The rabbit then keeps digging holes into and through other people's homes, eventually to find herself digging deep, deep into the earth and accidentally hitting a water basin. As the water rises, she has no choice but to ask for help to stop the water. The community gets in gear and diverts the water to a nearby lake. Everyone rejoices. The rabbit then, in a moment of great vulnerability, asked for help creating her burrow. And of course, they're all happy to help. One last note, Madeline Sharafian is a huge fan of Wes Anderson films, and Michael Capra is a huge fan of a large Coke and small popcorn. Uh, so
Thank you, Reese.
I love this short film so much. It From the beginning to the end, I just have a huge smile on my face because of just how charming this whole thing is. I love all the character designs, especially the main rabbit is so cute, and I love the little like anxious facial expressions it gets, and I love just like the little montage or whatever as it's like digging in and out of other people's homes, all the different creatures and type of styles. Like there's a fucking bathhouse here. There's like the little hole
The
with all the
newts.
little ants or whatever or as just like it's all just so fun. And then the when it gets and of course when she finally asks the badger for help and everybody comes together, it's just so sweet and so cute. When she finally is like wants help for her home, and it's again just so cute just seeing everybody come together and be so nice to help her, and she gets her bathroom disco and everything.
Bathroom
Just
disco.
it's just all so cute and lovely, and I adore this film so much.
You hit it right on the head calling it charming. It's so just like it's cute without being cutesy. Like it doesn't ever feel like it's trending too far into like, saccharine and sweet and we're made like it is very much for kids without feeling like it's just for kids. Like it is fun, it's charming like you said. And like for such a short turnaround, like you said 6 months, like
Mhm.
there's a lot of detail in this. That rabbit goes through a whole lot of different, like blink and you miss it locations. The frog library is very intricate, with the little like baskets on the ropes that she falls through. Salamander bathhouse with the one that just like takes its towel off,
I think it's like
hands it to her.
offering the towel to him, but yeah.
Yeah, but it is wrapped around his waist and it hands it to her,
Yeah.
which was a funny little visual.
I like the implications. It's funny.
Yes. the ant bistro where she falls in and it's huge and the ants all fucking love it and they're just like, yeah, there's a rabbit here, fuck
Yeah,
yeah.
it's so
It's so
funny.
like, and all these just like little bits of like it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's like 6 minutes if that. It gets and it has a message that is, not to keep harping on the boy, the mole, etc. But this does a really good job of, giving the message of it's okay to ask for help and, people are willing to help you versus the part in Boy Mole, etc. that I went to go see all of the shorts that year in the theater with my mom. And there's a point in that one where we turned and started laughing to each other, which is one of them. The boy just out of nowhere is like, what's the bravest thing you've ever done? And I think it's probably Idris Elba, but it's maybe the horse that says, telling someone that I needed help. And it just says that in the dialogue. Just, out of nowhere. There's no reason for the boy to ask that, and there's no reason for that to be, and it's just so obvious with its platitudes. And this short, without having any dialogue, without making it overt that that's what it's about and that's what it's trying to like teach children, it does a really good job of making that the message and having it not feel like it's a message short.
Mhm.
And it's very you can watch it without internalizing that and still have a good time because it's charming and it's well animated and it's cute and it's fun.
The
And it has an ant bistro and a frog library.
and the
What more do you
bathroom
want?
disco.
Yes, a bathroom slash disco question mark.
But yeah, it's like the rabbit has always depended on the kindness of strangers, and it's just like
Exactly.
exactly.
And this is one of our classic big guy, little guy shorts because it has the little
Of
guy, which is the
course.
bunny, and the big guy, which is Earth.
The little guy, which is the bunny, and the big guy, which is self-confidence. Or
Mother
lack thereof,
Nature.
self-doubt.
Yes. The uncaring persistence of water.
Hmm. Yeah, it's just
Water is
water.
the big
Water is
yeah.
the evil.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the real message of this short is fuck water.
Fuck water.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Um
Oh man.
I didn't take that many notes because it's short and sweet and it's in and it's out.
Yeah,
And
we
it's
were
just it's very compelling. I didn't want to keep pausing and looking away to my notes because it just happens and you just take it in and it's great.
yeah, exactly. It's one where just like this short's really good. We already said everything we liked about it. It's just and
Yeah.
it's nothing to really criticize or anything. It's just
Yeah.
it's just good. It's just cute. It's just fun.
Yeah.
It's just like good job, Pixar. We love when you do good things.
Exactly. And I so I don't have Disney Plus and I had to ask you to send me a link to find it elsewhere on the internet. Uh and no, the thing I'm thinking of was maybe one of the other shorts here. But one of the shorts here, in whatever version I found it online, in the bottom corner, someone's like Steam notifications popped up and it was like, someone else is playing this game. And I
That's
just
the
thought,
next film.
oh, that is okay. So we watched this on the same place. So that would,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. That was that one. Got
But
it.
yeah, and I did though on this one where I had to send you the link. I did notice that like I was looking at like the messages. It's like at 8:08 I said I'll look for it, and at 8:09 I immediately have the link.
You got it. I just couldn't find it anywhere for some reason. I don't know, but thank
I
you
I
for
I've
finding
just
that.
gotten good at finding these shorts, I guess. It's just
Yeah,
like just Googled Burrow Spark shorts sorted by video, sorted by 4 to 20 minutes.
that's a smart way to do it.
And
A smart way to do it.
I found it.
So
But
you
yeah,
did. Good short. I want a bathroom disco.
we should all get a disco ball for our bathrooms.
Exactly. And live in a communist, not polycule. That's a different thing. But just like shared living system like
Mhm.
this, like all these
A
birds.
co-op.
Co-op. That's the word I was thinking of, not polycule. A co-op.
But yeah,
Exactly.
our third nominee is Genius Loki, I think is how you pronounce it. Then again, uh, I know it's not pronounced the correct way, which is like in Latin, where it's like Loci, but I think it's
Yeah.
Genius Loki. Directed by Adrian Merigo. This is the first and so far only nomination for Merigo and producer Amari Ovis. Merigo is, I think, the first non-binary nominee in this category.
Cool.
He or they graduated from EMCA, or the Trade School of Film Animation, in 2004 and went to Ireland to pursue work, finding home at Cartoon Saloon. They were a background designer on Secret of the Kells and were promoted to art director for Song of the Sea. They also made their first short film at Cartoon Saloon called Old Fangs. After Song of the Sea, though, Marigot traveled back to their native France to work on their next project, today's nominee. The production of the film started with a script, or rather 20 different scripts, each one written to try and help to get the film funded through public grants, the main source of funding in Europe. It was hard to write a script for the film that actually conveyed the more experimental and dreamlike nature of it, but the process actually helped build something concrete to put the abstract stuff on top of. And they were able to only keep what was necessary to the story in the film, phasing out everything superfluous. When they got the funds and entered production, Marigot wanted to make this film more collaborative effort. In the past, they were a bit more domineering and controlling in their process and wanted to force themselves this time to be more welcoming of other creative input, giving parts of their film off to others so they can put their own spin on it. Comic book artist Brecht Evans ended up being a big part of storyboarding and background designs, but it's artists such as Celine Devaux, Alan Hawley, Viana Gautier, and Chenghua Yang also made notable contributions. Marigot even brought their family in to help with the film, as their parents did the music and the sound design for the film, while their brothers composed an organ piece for the church segment. Genius Loci, whose title is Latin and means the spirit of the place, is about Ren, a poet who one night goes on a psychedelic journey through the streets of Paris, often confused and terrified of what she encounters. Lastly, Marigot's favorite film is Yuri Norstein's Hedgehog in the Fog, and Amory Olviz's favorite line is "Are you talking to me?" from Taxi Driver. Gordon, what did you think of Genius Loki?
I really like this one. Fans of my previous 8 episodes of this show might recognize that I am drawn to any short that does it kind of weird with the animation, and just sort of like throws out a bunch of colors and shapes, which I guess kind of makes me a bit of a child in my appreciation of animation, which ooh, colors and shapes. But I really like the animation style of this one, and it's more than just that. I am being kind of, joking and reductive when I call this just colors and shapes, because I think well, there's not much of a story to this one, or at least a necessarily cohesive story. I think the animation greatly outweighs that. I think on a purely visual level, this is, if not the most interesting one in this lineup, it's certainly very ambitious and very catchy to the eye.
Mhm.
And I just think it's a really interesting short. It's the longest one, or is If Anything Happens longer? It's
I
pretty
think
short
this is
altogether.
longer.
This
Uh,
is like 15 minutes and it's the longest then.
yeah,
Um,
like if anything happens, I think it's only 12.
that sounds right. That sounds right. But like it doesn't really feel like it sags all that much. It doesn't feel like it is overindulgent in its sort of psychedelic visual style. I had a good time with this one. I remember really liking it at the time and really liking it this time around. The sheen didn't really wear off for me.
Mhm. Yeah, like this one is a film that like I feel like definitely grows on you the more you think about it and the more you watch it. Because I
Yeah.
like as I was watching it this time, I was trying like I have this like very high on my ranking, and as I started, I was kind of I found myself a bit lost, like just trying to figure out like what is going on in this film? Why is it that I like this so much? But as it goes on, as I really start to understand like what the film is actually about, it's just like it really, really becomes a lot more powerful. And I feel like if I watch this film like two or three more times, it might be like one of my favorite short films ever.
Yeah.
But in order to do that, I would really like a version of this film that doesn't have two overlapping subtitle options and that Steam pop up during it. Um,
Yes. Yeah.
but anyway, this film is absolutely gorgeous to look at, as you were saying, and it's just like, and there are parts of it that are still kind of a mystery to me. Like, I'm not sure, like, whether she is meant to be like, is this meant to be a representation of like any like a mental illness, or if it is like a drug trip or something like that. But I do know at the very least that like what I was able to gather was that this is a film about a person who is just so terrified of like any kind of commitment or responsibility and is just constantly running away from anything that she finds like difficult or scary. And it's just like, and yes, it's like not great character traits, but it's also something that it can be like intensely relatable and things like that. And it
Yeah.
portrays that those feelings like just so beautifully that it's just like it's hard for me not to love this film. It's just truly a unique and individual work of art, and I'm very
Oh,
glad this was able to get nominated.
very much so. And like even separate from themes and motifs and all that, just visually, it's
Yes.
really like all the like it's all done in, I assume, watercolors or something similar. Like you can see a lot of the brush strokes in a lot of these. It looks very hand animated. However, whatever medium or media, I imagine it's probably not all one. There's a few points where you can see like in the frame there's like a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that is being animated on and around, or like multiple, because that's how animation works. Uh, but just like it's very ambitious in its animation, and sometimes that can be a bit bloated and a bit, artsy for artsy's sake. But I don't think that ever feels like it here. I really like all the like transitional shots. There's a point where she goes and meets an old friend and they're having a conversation, and it sort of morphs between their two faces as they each have something to say. But like in outlines, and I mean, it's hard to describe visually this short. You just have to go and watch it on your own to see what I'm
Hmm.
talking about. But like, there's like three guys on the street that one of them calls out to her, and then they sort of abstract into shapes and then reform as a bull.
Hmm. Yeah,
There's
the
like
different animals that
yes,
silhouettes over the different people is also really great.
the papers that fly away from the woman with the bag of apples and turn into dogs that are chasing each other and turn back to papers, and then the woman with the apples catches on fire and sort of floats away. Her friend turning into a tree. Just like
Hmm.
all of this stuff could be very just, capital W weird, for the sake of it. And it doesn't ever feel like that. I will say my favorite visual aspect of this short has absolutely nothing to do with the sort of trippy animation. And it's the baby whose face is just a circle with the two giant eyes and
I
nothing
do
else.
love the baby.
I love those big eyes. It's very cute. It's a minimalist short with a lot of maximalism to it,
Hmm.
in a way that merges those two visual styles very well.
Yeah, it's just truly unlike anything else. It's like one of the
Yes.
the most unique nominees to ever be in this category, and it's just like,
And we
wow,
got another one of the most unique coming up right after it, too. It's very spoiled
definitely.
for choice this year as far as like shorts that definitely feel like they are breaking the mold of what you can do with an animated short or with
It's
animation in general.
exactly. It's just yeah, it's a lot. Anything else you'd like to say about Genius Loki?
Um, Looking through my notes, not really. There was one point where it felt like the art, or like at least the background, felt like a stamp, like an ink stamp, and I don't
Hmm.
know how they achieved that, but like it's when she's first outside and is sort of walking down the streets, and they sort of like turn into towers in front of her, and it feels like it's stamped rather than
Hmm.
drawn, and I thought that was really cool. I just really like the animation style all throughout this.
Yeah,
If it's if we're doing like best animated short rather than best animated short, I feel like this one takes the cake for me. I think the animation is especially great here.
definitely. Yeah, and like as you were talking about like the seemingly different like animation styles and stuff, I realized that like when I was looking through like the different interviews and stuff to like get that opening paragraph, I don't think I saw a single point where you like where they like describe like the animation type the medium used for the film. It's like maybe I just missed it, but it's like I don't remember ever seeing like any mention of like what kind of artistic tools were used for it. Like, what was it, digital? Was it like hand painted, or like was it some mixture of them or whatever? Or is this like, damn, where is it? But
Who's
yeah,
to say? Either way, looks great.
it looks great. It's gorgeous. But yeah, we'll
Yes.
move on to our fourth nominee, which is Opera, directed
Hell
by
yeah.
Eric O. This is O's first and only nomination so far. He was born in Korea and earned a BFA in Fine Arts at Seoul National University before transferring to UCLA for his master's degree. From there, O went to work as an animator at Pixar, working on films like Cars 2, Brave, Monsters University, Inside Out, Finding Dory, and many Oscar-nominated shorts, including Sanjay's Super Team, Piper, Lou, and most importantly, The Dam Keeper. The Dam Keeper was made by two former Pixar employees, Daisu Tsumi and Robert Kondo, who went on to form their own animation studio, Tonko House. The Dam Keeper was made as a side project while the two were still at Pixar, and O joined them on the project as a supervising animator. Once they left Pixar and formed Tonko House, they asked O to take part in their new animated series, Pig the Dam Keeper Poems, which was created to expand the world of the short film and deepen the story of the characters. O loved the concept and then jumped ship from Pixar to join with Tonko House on that project. But O's story isn't just his studio work. He is also an accomplished independent animator. Not only does he have several films he made while at university, among which his 2010 film Heart is the most widely recognized, but he's also made plenty of independent films, of which Opera is his most notable. There's also going to be an Eric O career retrospective at House of Refuge on Jeju Island, starring April 25th, and it will feature his most recent film Origin, which is a spiritual sequel to Opera. Now, back to the nominee at hand. Opera is a massive tableau initially intended as a museum exhibit. It inspired by the works of Renaissance painters like Michelangelo and Botticelli, with the film's messaging inspired by various political movements around the world, as well as the election of Donald Trump in the US and impeachment of Park Geun-hye in South Korea. O wanted to tackle the endless struggle of citizens against the ruling class, how various issues are all interlinked into that of classism and wealth inequality. And the film ended up taking 4 years to complete, with O and other animators working on it in their free time, taking painstaking effort to make every minute detail perfect, so that the whole film works as perfectly as a clock, creating an endless loop of human civilization. Opera, which is used here in its Latin form, meaning labor or work, and it features a pyramidal structure of society. At the top is, I assume, a god of time, followed by the record keeper, and below them, a king being worshipped by his subjects. Going down the pyramid, we see many scenes of life, often flowing in one into another, like people getting married, to having a child, to that child going through the education system forced to conform. There's also some self-contained scenes, such as my favorite one, two groups of people who alternate between eating and shitting. And at the
Love it.
bottom, there is the workers and a massive food court. At the lowest point, there is a guard standing under a key holding his flag. When the guard gets killed and replaced by the other faction, a war breaks out, destroying the lower half of the pyramid, though the top is untouched. Unfazed, the two gods reset the pyramid, and the cycle begins anew. Lastly, Eric O has spent hours and hours watching the films of Hayao Miyazaki. So, on my first watch of this film back in theaters back in 2021, uh I had a like I had an appreciation for this film. Like, I understand like how hard it was to make the film, make it so detailed and everything, but I didn't really like connect with it emotionally. Just like, oh yeah, it's just like a pyramid showing the structure of the world and all that. And it's like an endless loop or whatever. And it's like and I felt at the time that's like, if I was able to see this like in an actual museum where I could just be there watching a loop over and over again, I would be able to uh like appreciate it a lot more, and like just be able to like follow the specific trails and whatever, or just like spend time with each different segment of this massive thing. It's just like it'd be a lot better for me. And while I still agree with a lot of that, I do find myself really loving this film on a second time. And again, it's like, it's not because anything I said it was wrong. I think I just enjoyed it more this time. I'm not sure why, but it's just like I love just seeing the individual things, just looking at how all the things interconnect. Heck, and it's just like And I did actually go back just to like look at a few of the different little scenes again, just because the biggest problem of this film is the fact that it is a film and the fact that like it only zooms in on specific portions of the pyramid at different points and like rarely does it let you get like a whole view of the pyramid. And then again, it's like you can't possibly get every single part of the pyramid on one go of the film. You need to watch it multiple times in order to get that whole image. And it's like, again, I just want to see it in a museum so I can just stand there looking at the whole image, look at whatever part I want to. So that makes it hard to talk about it as a movie
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's not really meant to be a movie, but it
Yeah,
is a movie,
I
and
have
it's the
it
movie's
pulled up
still great.
now. I have it pulled up right now and I'm just sort of like dragging the progress bar back and forth to like just focus on different parts and things that I didn't pick up on, like the bit where there's people getting guillotined and then their heads are being thrown down a little path, and those path like then the heads are thrown into a fire that's a furnace that like turns the windmill that powers it all. Uh, and uh there's just so much going on here. I
Mhm.
don't know how just what are your favorite little tableaus? What are your favorite vignettes here? I guess
So
is really the only way to talk about it is
yeah, like definitely like I said in the thing, my favorite one is the one with the two people who are just
yes.
looping,
Yes.
eating and shitting back and just switch rooms and whatever.
Yeah.
But I also really liked how so on the left side of the pyramid in the little line of like going from the wedding to the birth and everything in the in one of the classrooms over there you can see that the children are they have like all these different colored heads, I think, but the teacher is like painting them all so they have the white head.
Right.
It's like I think that is like it's a simple allegory, but it's just like just as this one little piece, I think it really works.
Yeah.
And just like, and I really wish I could have. One thing I wanted to be able to do was like just like try and follow that whole path from like the left side to the right side because the right side you have like this line of death. It's just like you have like this hospital and then the funeral and like the or I guess the morgue and then there's the funeral up there and I wanted to like try and actually see that whole line, like try and follow it all the way down to the other side, but I didn't have enough time to really
Yeah.
do that.
It's
But
there's just so much. It's really hard to like, and I think the ones getting guillotined and having their heads thrown into the room are the ones that still have the like multicolored heads. There's like a
yes.
green and a pink and a so something non-conformity. It's there's a lot of stuff in here. I will say the first sort of like go around when I was just sort of like glancing here and there, I saw the one of the woman giving birth on the bed, and from far away, it was, it looked like she was hovering above the bed, and I thought it was just for some reason an exorcism going on. Before I like focused, and I was like, oh no, she's giving birth to a child, and that makes more sense as part of the cycle of life than an exorcism.
Yeah,
But
marriage into exorcism.
yeah. There's so much going on that I didn't realize until it cycles again at the end of it that there's that giant fish being taken apart on the right side. Like, did not notice that there at all. And then war happens and there's giants, and then a giant fish jumps out, and the moon god thing throws the fish back onto the side. And I was like, wait, was that there the first go around? And I scrolled back and it sure was. And I just hadn't noticed. It's like those videos of like, pay attention to how many times the red ball gets tossed between this group and someone in a big gorilla costume walks out and you're so focused on the red ball that you don't notice the gorilla walk through. Had no idea there was a giant fish there because it's just so dense, but like it never feels overwhelming. It never like it is. It makes it look so easy to pull off something so intricate and cyclical that you don't really stop and think about how hard it is to make it come together as one and not just an overcrowded, overstimulated mess of a screen. It all flows very well.
Hmm. Yeah, it's truly just a monumental work. It's like it's insane to think like how this was actually pulled off so that everything does click together so perfectly. But it does. It's just a really impressive work.
Yeah. Oh, my other favorite vignette is pretty high up. It's like right under one of the many scenes of worship. It's the two people sitting back and forth with like they each have a line coming out of their heads that sort of connects in the middle as a big jumble of
Yes.
lines, and they're sending a heart back and forth that is like, one of them is speaking words of love and it's getting all jumbled up in the middle, and the other one is still receiving it. And I thought that was, in the midst of all this, horrible conformity and all that. I think that's a really nice thing in there for once.
Yeah, I did notice that one. I was just trying to figure out like what the hell it actually was. It took me a while to see the heart actually in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a scene that stuck out to me. And also, uh, so the guillotine one that you mentioned earlier, it's like that's a scene that I had remembered from the first time I watched it, and I was looking for it in this whole time that I watched it this time, and I could not find it. In the whole tableau, I could not see where it was, and I was looking
Yeah.
for it, but it's
There's
just
just
like.
so much to look at.
And also, like I spent a lot of time looking at like the bottom section with like the guys at the bottom. And it's like, but while I was looking down there, my eyes kept going back up to this like the several rooms of people having sex in there.
I
And
literally just noticed that as you were saying, right before, like I was about to bring it up after you finished whatever you were saying, and then you said the thing that I was about to say. That there's just like, here's there's a blowjob and some doggy style and some missionary, and then they, pause and they switch and they go to the next room, and it's just a very it's also part of the cycle. It's all just, and then you do this, and then you switch partners, and then it's all very uh, clinical
Mhm.
and regimented in a way that is also a commentary on life and stuff,
I think the
It,
song Change Partners is actually about that.
most certainly. It's about that little section of the short film opera.
Exactly.
Exactly. What do you think that key unlocks?
Uh, it
It
unlocks
seems like a pretty
Chastity
important key.
Cage.
Yes, on the king. Oh no, there's a
Yes.
key. There's a keyhole at the top of the thing. I did forget that.
Oh,
There
there
is a
was.
big there's a big keyhole. It's like the second thing under the moon god above the time scales. That makes
Oh.
sense. That
So,
makes sense.
so yeah, so the working class have the power to change the system,
And
but they have
rather
no
than
way to get
change
up
it,
to there. And
but also
also,
rather than change it, they're just fighting each other over who gets to be the one that stands by the key
yeah,
rather than doing anything with it.
they've been fooled to protect it rather than use it.
Yes. And also the working class sometimes has giants.
Yeah. No,
I
no,
do like that. I do like that part of the war scene where they're all fighting each other in the bottom, and then every so often you'll get one that's like 4 times as tall as the others. Is that supposed to be like tanks or whatever?
maybe.
Is that supposed to be like
Or it could be how it's just like whenever there is like a super big person, we always like use
send
them
them to war?
for our own needs. Like maybe for battle, maybe just for
Yeah,
basketball, but
yeah. The tall people in opera represent Andre the Giant. That's that part of human history is the part where Andre the Giant was there.
there should have been like a little room that just had like just straight up Andre the Giant in there. Like maybe it was
Not
like
even animated, just a regular like JPEG of Andre
it's
the
scenes from The
Giant.
Princess Bride.
No, it's just a still photo, just a still image, poorly cropped, not at all on track with the sweeping camera movement. It just sort of like jitters every so often, like, oh shit, the tableau has moved.
And it's just like it's frozen in the top left corner of the screen.
Exactly. It's a watermark that's like semi-transparent over the entire screen. I'm gonna do that in iMovie after this and send it to you, and that'll be for nothing other than it's kind of funny, I guess.
No, what'll probably happen is like you'll send me like an image or the video, and I'll take a screen cap of it and use it as like my picture for the tweet, and just like
There
make
we go.
the tweet itself innocuous, where it's just like, oh, and
We're
I make a
doing
little joke
opera.
about opera, and then
Hey,
it's
don't
just
look too closely. Andre the Giant is there.
No, what it'll be, it's just like it's so insane how impressive and intricate this tableau is. It's just like look closely, see what you can see. And just wait for somebody to be like, is that Andre the Giant in there?
You're goddamn right it is, baby.
Uh,
We
but
have
yeah,
fun here.
uh, this really is just such a great
Great short.
experience. Hmm.
Great short. I do think it's really well done. As much as I like to, joke around and have fun. Like it is a really powerful short.
Hmm. But I just wish I could see it in a museum so I can just
Yeah.
experience it in the way it's intended to be experienced.
Yeah, that would be really something.
Uh, but yeah, uh, but I think that's a good place to move on to our fifth and final nominee, which is Yes People, directed by
Yes.
Gisli Dari Halldórsson. This is the first and so far only nomination for Halldórsson, as well as producer Arnar Gunnarsson. Halldórsson was born in Iceland, but went to Ireland to pursue animation, graduating from Ballyfermont College in 2007. From there, he would work on projects all around Europe, some in Ireland, like working with Brown Bag Films on Oscar nominee Granny O'Grim's Sleeping Beauty, or going back to Iceland to work on some TV shows there. Also going to Germany to animate on another Oscar nominee, Room on the Broom, or going to London to work on The Amazing World of Gumball. Generally, Halldórsson was a freelance animator who went wherever he could find work, he's in his free time, he would slowly work on today's film, slowly building the concept and creating storyboards and everything. But in 2019, he received funding from the Icelandic Film Fund, which allowed him to focus more on the project full time and get it completed. The concept of film originates with his time in Ireland, explaining how versatile the word "jal" or yes is in Icelandic, to the point where people from the Faroe Islands refer to them as the Yes People. Halldórsson wanted to expand on this idea by making a film about the mundanity and roteness of everyday life, with the short being centered around the utterance of that one word. And then came the characters. There's a contrast in the world of Yes People where the backgrounds are real world photographs with simply the colors altered, while the characters are highly stylized caricatures. The film is about a group of people who live in the same apartment building, showing off the monotony of their lives in a comedic fashion. There's a music teacher and her son, an office worker and his alcoholic wife, an old man who shovels snow and his wife who reads Proust, and the only word they say is you. Lastly, perhaps my favorite of Reese Witherspoon's descriptions, she simply says that Gisli Dari Halldórsson and Arnar Gunnarsson's love affair with animation began with Star Wars. The Force is very strong with those two. Gordon, what did you think of Yes People?
No.
Go on.
No, I'm it's fine. It's wild that of these five, this is the one with the second most dialogue, which is really weird, which I only thought of while we were talking. Um, it's not necessarily the shortest. I don't remember if it is no, because Burrow is shorter, but it feels so much longer than all the others. I it's inoffensive. I just like don't care about it. I don't like the animation of it. The CG character design is really off-putting. It just doesn't really feel like it has much of a reason to exist. Like I don't really like, oh, isn't it crazy that people do things that are kind of boring? Doesn't really make it a not boring short. I don't know. I don't really have thoughts on it. I don't feel strongly negative about it. I don't feel strongly positive about it either. It's just a short that I watched, and that's it. Like this could be a thing I watch on YouTube and kind of, you know, lightly exhale through my nose about and then never think about again. And then wouldn't you know it, it gets an Oscar nomination. I don't really take fault with it. I just don't know why it's here.
Well, you wouldn't be alone in that fact. Not with me, but what I'm saying is, on Letterboxd, this is in fact the lowest rated nominee of this category ever. Uh,
Interesting.
though to be fair, there is probably a lot of recency bias in that, considering how few of these would actually be watched by anybody.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but yeah, so and I feel like I need to defend this film
Go
because
for it.
I
Absolutely.
I actually really enjoy this one. And first of all, I think there's a lot more to this film than just, people saying yes a lot, which even though that is a lot of this film, and I do think that part is still funny, I think it does a good job of showing how versatile their usage of the word can be. I think it's cute. But at the same time, I when I was watching this, I actually forgot that I wrote in my paragraph that like Halderson had mentioned that it's like he wanted to make it about the mundanity and roteness of everyday life. But it's just like as I was watching the film, it's just like, yeah, it's really about that. It's about just like
Yeah.
how and it's like I really love how the old woman, she's reading Proust, and I don't know much about Proust, but I did look him up, and I looked up the word Proustian, and it's about like his works often feature like about how like looking back on your past, your childhood, and it's like, and I think this film is also like a commentary about uh how we often do view nostalgia, like we often look on the past in rose-colored glasses. And I think this film uses like, and I think the photographs that are used for the background are things that Halderson, he like found these old photographs from his like father that he took, and like he put them in this movie. And I think it's meant to be like how, like I was saying, we viewed the past with rose-colored glasses. Meanwhile, the actual past is something that is just so mundane and rote. And it's just like, and it's about like the ever repeating cycle of life, similar to opera. Um,
In a way, I guess.
I just wanted to
Like,
throw that out there. Just like,
yeah,
yes, these are the same film about the same themes, but
I just think like this one pulls it off a lot less interestingly. Like, there's a point in this where there's a little montage where one of the music students is playing on his recorder, and the teacher mom is like striking her cup as a metronome, and it does like two goes through of, rather than it always being the metronome, it's cutting to the other people, and it's like she hits the cup, and then the woman at home snores, and the man crunches his cookie, and the other guy shovels his snow, and it does that twice each, and then just moves on, and like,
Mhm.
oh wow, people make noises. I'm so changed. I'm so I it's just a lot of it,
But
it feels like also the movie wants to be like, oh, people annoy other people because sometimes people drink their soup loud or fart or are an annoying mom or are no longer as skinny as they were when you married them. And like that feels like the whole message is like, look at all these people that are bitter about the people they interact with and are kind of embarrassed and normal, but the old people have sex still. And yeah,
yeah,
sure. I don't know. It's just I don't take I don't like I don't think there's anything actively wrong with this. I just am not really impressed by it. It feels very pedestrian in the way it presents it all.
I can definitely at least understand that, but I also just disagree. I think it's still
Oh,
like
that's totally fair. Yeah.
I think it's really funny. I think it does do a good job of like showing like how banal the human existence just is, and like we just all live in these own like little loops of our life just kind of waiting to die, you know?
Yeah.
And
I
it's
just
just like, yeah,
yeah.
it's so true.
Yeah. I think just part of me is like, well, is that it? Is that all you have to say? And I guess it is. And
I-
it's not
It
bad.
is a short film.
It is, but like,
It's saying something, which is more than I could say for like if anything happens, I love you. It's not really
yeah, well,
saying much. But yeah,
yeah, that's fair. I don't know. I didn't really get anything out of this short. I don't know. And the animation I just really is just really bad. It just does not look good. The YouTube upload of this, the title of the upload is Oscar nominated CG short film on everyday life. And like the fact that it is, highlighted that it's CG, I don't take any issue with computer animation. I think there's some great computer animated movies out there. This does not look good. The animation in this looks really just like unpleasant to look at. What did I just compare it to on Twitter with you like a
Oh,
month ago when we were talking
let me
about
see.
this. Let me pull that up.
Um,
Uh,
doesn't seem like you compared it to anything.
it looks like they'd look tacky and cheap in a lineup from 20 years prior.
Oh yeah.
Like, even if this was a 2004 animated short, I would be like, this looks bad for its time. And now, 2020, 2021, it looks even more jarringly out of place.
Mhm. I I just disagree. I think the
Yeah,
style works for the film. It's just like I think the character designs are nice, and it's just like I think it did do a good job of like blending the backgrounds to the characters. It's just like, and I just I think the style works for it, and it's like I did send you another film, A Single Life. It's
right.
a previous nominee. I think it's from 2014, um, and that one has worse animation in my opinion.
I
Like that's
I forgot to check that out. I will watch that after
it
this.
is 2 minutes long, but it's fine.
Two
Anyway,
minutes is short.
uh oh, there was something else I was gonna say. What was I gonna say? Oh, what it did remind me of was the short films by Magic Light Pictures, who did like The Gruffalo and Room on the Broom. And it's just like sometimes I do complain about those people's animation. Sometimes I don't. This time, even though it's not by them, it's similar enough to them. I like it here.
That's fair.
But yeah,
Yeah, I think there's again, it's not terrible. I just it didn't impress me to any degree.
but I think we can at the very least agree that this doesn't deserve to be rated as the worst film ever nominated in this category.
Yeah. Yeah, there's worse.
Like it's
There's
like number two is literally War is Over, and it's like that's worse.
I
That's
didn't
definitely worse.
watch any of them this year, but I would believe that.
Oh, you should check them out. There are three great ones. I'll say actually, yeah, three
It's
great
fair.
ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything else you'd like to say about Yes People?
No.
All right.
Bookend it. Bookend it with no.
Now that we've gone through and talked about the five nominees, we will rank them all. Gordon, start us off with your number five.
I guess my number I mean, it's tough ranking 4 and 5 here. I think I have less good things to say about Yes People, so I'd probably put that at 5, but like I don't know. I had more bad things to say about If Anything Happens also. For now I'm gonna say Yes People at 5, but like they're kind of interchangeable for different reasons.
My number five is easily If Anything Happens, I Love You,
Yeah.
because I just don't think it's a good short. It doesn't do what it sets out to well. And of course, it has just terrible music throughout. That's like either manipulative or just fits so very poorly with the film it's showing.
Yeah. And it's my number 4 for those same reasons. I get why people are moved by it. I was moved by it. I wasn't unmoved. I just felt like it was doing a lot to make sure I was moved and kind of forgot to be good in the process.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
there's some interesting stuff. Not much, but some. More so than Yes People, at least.
My number four is Yes People, which I'm much kinder to. And like,
Yeah.
even though I was like a very staunch defender of it just now, it's just it I can't say it's as good as the other three films, which I do really love. This one is just like kind of a high 3.5 for me, which
Yeah.
again is much higher than most people have it. But it's I really like it. I thought it was funny, but I don't like it as much as the other three films that we are talking about. So what's
Yeah.
your number three, Gordon?
And then here's where I have another issue. I don't know how to rank these three. I should have thought about this before right now. Um, I guess my number 3 is Burrow because it's the simplest. I don't know, but it's still great. I still love like when we were talking earlier when you mentioned Burrow, I was like smiling through that entire description because it's such a pleasant, delightful short.
Yeah,
I don't have anything bad to say about it. It is a very highly ranked number 3.
uh my number three is Opera, which I think it's more down here just because it shouldn't be a movie, but even it's
Yeah.
just like I wish the reframing just did not happen. And it's just like, but then again, if it didn't do like the specific framing, it's like it would be really hard to just see all the details of the film. So that does, it's just it's just not meant to be a movie. It's
That's
just,
fair.
but yeah. Uh yeah, that's why it's my number three. It's still really great. It's still really intricate. Love Eric O,
Yeah.
but opera has to be my number three.
Yeah, that's entirely fair.
Number two.
My number two is Genius Loki, which also great. Also really visually compelling. The story and the narration and the dialogue and the sound is great on top of it looking really great. See everything I said earlier for further thoughts about this short. If you're listening to this, you heard that. You wouldn't be skipping ahead to the end. So I don't know why I feel like I have to defend my choice here. I don't know.
I
I,
feel
I
like
don't.
if this podcast were more popular, I feel like some people would do that.
Could be.
I feel they would
There's
just skip to the
yeah.
end to see the ranking.
It could be. There could be someone doing that right now. And if you are doing that, shame on you.
Shame,
Shame.
shame,
Shame.
shame, shame.
You're a, you are bad. No, that's this is a nothing riff. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry. What's your number two?
My number two is also Genius Loki, which is so gorgeously animated. I think has a really powerful emotions within it, and it's just really great film that I want to just watch again and again if I had a good version of it to watch. But still,
Yes. Yeah.
very great. Number one.
And my number one is Opera, which is just such a visual feast. Just like you're right. It probably shouldn't be a movie just in terms of the scope of it, but like you can also watch it not as a movie and do what I was doing and just sort of scroll back and forth and just replay and just focus on little moments. And we didn't even mention the ghosts. There's ghosts. There's ghosts in this short. What more do you want? You got ghosts. Does I looked down at my notes to find another short to be like, does this one have ghosts? And I almost said opera, the one I was already talking about. Does Yes People have ghosts? I don't think so. It might. There could be ghosts in there, but I didn't notice any. Opera has ghosts,
Well,
so it's
if
number
anything
one.
happens, I Love You has ghosts, and that's your number four.
Yeah, that is true. It does straight up have kind of a ghost in it. That is a very good point that I didn't think of. But Opera's got better ghosts.
Okay.
I don't know.
And my number one is Burrow, which, like I was saying, just the most endlessly charming film of this lineup. I thoroughly enjoyed every single thing about it. Uh, and I hope you who are out there will watch it too. And just it's just a good time. It's just like if you're ever sad, just put on Burrow. It'll make you happy.
Yeah, very.
All right. Uh, so before we end our show, so I did this on the other episode. Would you like to just like go through our past episodes together, just like talk about the films
Yeah.
we've seen? And it's like go down memory lane. So
Hell yeah.
the first one we did together was 1937 with The Old Mill, and also nominated was Educated Fish and Little Match Girl. Oh, and
Right.
yeah, remember Educated Fish? That was
Yeah.
2 years ago when we
Oh
talked
boy.
about
Wow.
that.
I was in a whole entire other apartment when that happened.
God, yeah, Old Mill's great. Little Match Girl, I thought was great. You thought less of it,
Yeah.
but yeah.
And
Uh,
also Educated Fish,
and
which I
also
remember
Educated Fish
very
is,
little about.
which I believe is still in one of like, it's in the bottom 10 of like all films ever nominated for this category for me.
That's
Let me just,
entirely fair. I don't remember having strong feelings about it, but I remember it being weird.
oh yeah, it's sixth from the bottom.
Oh boy. What's your lowest? What's your very bottom?
It's Hunky and Spunky, which is a short
Oh
film
boy.
about two donkeys that make terrible noises.
Oh boy.
Uh,
I'm gonna look
but
that
yeah,
up.
so our next year is 1947, I believe, which is the infamous episode where we invent the term big guy, little guy.
Big guy, little guy.
Yep. We had Tweety Pie, which is the like we said, there are two kinds of animated shorts. There's Big Guy, Little Guy, which is representative of Tweety Pie, Chip and Dale, Dr. Jekyll, and Mr. Mouse. And then there's the second kind, which is Sad Guy Makes Music, which is Pluto's Blue Note and Tubby the Tuba. And
Yeah,
that has those two short types have held through pretty much every single year.
there's always a big guy, little guy,
And it's just like, and
which is
even
also
look,
kind of a
uh,
opera. It's also like a few big guys and a lot of little guys.
like Yes People is like a bunch of sad people making music, that being the word
True.
yo. Opera is the big guy of class against the little guy of the working class. Like the class system versus the
Yes.
people. Genius Loki, sad person makes music. Burrow is kind of a little bit both, but I think it actually leans more towards sad person makes music. Like,
If the
but also,
music is a home.
yeah, and like the there's also just the big guy, little guy of the uh just the people, and like we were saying
Yeah.
earlier. And if anything
And the
happens,
badger at the end. There's the badger that's a big guy
but
that ends up being
that's not
helpful.
the plot. It's just
Yeah, but
a big
the rabbit's
thing.
scared of it.
It it
It
doesn't count.
it runs away and hits water because of the scary
But it's
badger.
not the short itself isn't
That's
big guy,
fair.
little guy. It's not outside of like what we were saying earlier about like the emotional big guy.
Yes,
But yeah,
exactly.
but then we have If Anything Happens, I Love You, which I think I don't want to
It's
call it big
sad.
guy, little guy, so I'm gonna
No,
say sad makes music.
it is sad, and the music is very much part of what makes you sad. So I think it's much more that one.
But yeah, so but yeah, and for 1947, that was just such a
It was a
whatever
fun one.
lineup, kind of.
Yeah, but it was fun to talk about.
It was certainly fun to talk about.
They've all been fun to talk about, regardless of the quality of the shorts.
Yeah, and then we move on to 1964. Pink Fink,
Right.
or yeah, Pink
Well,
Fink
actually,
Christmas
I
Cracker.
I want to see if I can guess these going forward, what they were.
Okay, go
Can I
ahead.
can I do that? Okay. So were there five here?
There were four.
Four. So you said two. Pink Fink. I've already forgotten the name of the other one. Uh, which Christmas Cracker. Tup Tup? Was this the year of Tup Tup?
No,
No. Nudnik. Here's
Nudnik
Nudnik.
is one of them. And I'll give
And
you a hint. The other one was made by the same person who made Nudnik.
oh, this isn't the Kama Sutra one, is it?
No,
No, that's also later. Um, I don't remember. I was so confident.
it
And
is How to Avoid Friendship.
right, right. I think I was conflating that one with Kama Sutra in my mind, but I was picturing that one when I said Kama Sutra. Okay. Um, hit me with the next year.
All right. But yeah, let's just talk about that year for a
Oh,
little
right.
bit.
Yes. Yeah, we should actually talk about it as well.
But yeah, so yeah, that's one of the few years where the same person gets nominated twice with Nudnik and How to Avoid Friendship. Both of those are fine. Both of those are good.
Yeah.
I like them.
I
Then we have
remember liking Nudnik a lot, actually.
You didn't like Nudnik, that's right.
I
But I
didn't?
did.
I thought I did.
Oh, you did? Oh, maybe I
I thought I did.
no, you didn't like How to Avoid Friendship that much, did you? Maybe I'm confusing you like when
I
I talked about
I
these with like
remember
Ronaldo or something.
I remember liking all four of
Oh, you
those.
did? Okay.
I thought so. Maybe
I don't
not.
know. It's
Or at
been a
least
year.
I remember liking the music in Christmas Cracker a lot. Maybe not liking the actual short, but the music in that I thought was fascinating. But I have at least semi-fond memories of those, having not seen them since we talked about them.
But yeah.
I think. Yeah,
Uh and then Pink Fink, classic. We love Pink Panther.
we
I
sure do.
did. I love Pink Panther at the very least.
Oh, I also love the Pink
Okay.
Panther.
Yeah, I'm realizing like when there's been over a year in between these episodes, it's hard to remember what we said about them.
Yeah.
So after that we have 1972, which,
Hey, can I keep guessing?
well, you said two of the films already.
Yes, it's Tup Tup and Kama Sutra Goes West and Christmas
Rides
Carol.
Again.
Rides Again. This is the same thing. And Christmas Carol, right?
Christmas Carol was the winner that year.
Yes.
Yes.
And it was just those three?
Just those three.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
in the 70s, it's like mainly like three film years. There's although
Yeah.
they're like 74 has five, 75 has four. Or
Crazy.
and But yeah, there's a lot of 3-1 years. But yeah, that's just a good lineup. Like
Yeah. I
I
didn't
liked all of those films.
I didn't love that Christmas Carol. I liked some of the animation, but it was fine. It
Mhm.
was, from what I remember, my lowest of that. Sorry, there's a fly flying around. Speaking of our next episode, I think. There's a
No, we
fly.
didn't do Fly. Oh no,
No,
maybe we had Black
black.
Fly though.
We did Black Fly.
Yeah. I was because the winner of 1980 is The Fly. So I was just
Oh,
like, wait,
oh
that
yeah.
wasn't your year.
No, the Black Fly that annoys the guy so much that he is Canadian.
I mean, he was
I think
Canadian
was the
before
plot of
that.
that. No, I think the plot of that is that he got so annoyed by a fly that he became Canadian.
But
I'm
yeah,
pretty sure I'm right.
it's it's one of those films that it's one of those films that's a song and therefore I love it.
Yes. Uh, oh, did we already move on? Did I
Well,
transition
no,
us
we you didn't
seamlessly
name the
into
other
no?
two yet.
Okay, yeah, it was Manipulation
Yes.
was the winner, and oh, I don't remember the name of it, but it's the woman who's obsessed with boats and her bath overflows.
Yeah, it's the woman who's taking a bath and it leaks onto the
Yes.
dinner party.
Is it called like The Flood or something?
No, it's called Strings.
Right. I remember really liking that one.
That one was really good. I don't think I liked it as much as you did, but I still I I think I after we finished the episode, I raised it in my ranking just because like damn, you're really right. That is a really great
Yeah.
film.
That's one of those cases that I'm talking about when I was talking about Genius Loki, that like have one of these that is really well animated, and like I will be willing to forgive a whole lot of other because the animation is just so good.
Yeah. And the manipulation. That's also just like really interestingly animated, just like a lot of fun.
Yes.
And like this was also a pretty good year.
Yeah.
Then after that we have 2006.
So that's Little Match Girl again.
Yes.
The Danish Prince, is that what it's called?
Poet. That's the one
Poet,
that won.
Danish Poet, the Liv Ullmann narrated one.
Yes.
Um, the is it called The Performance? The one with the owl that's the cuckoo clock? Or the bird
It's
that's
not
the
the
cuckoo clock?
performance.
It's
We
something
made
like
Bradley
that.
Cooper jokes with this one.
Maestro.
Yes.
Yes. The little bird guy.
Yeah.
Um, what else was it was there's a Pixar one, it's Lifted.
Yes. And then there's the other one, which we had a very fun conversation about.
I'm sure we did.
We made OJ
Oh,
Simpson
right.
references. Scrat. No time for
Scrat.
nuts.
No time for nuts. Fuck Scrat. All my homies hate Scrat.
I I do think back to that episode sometimes, like just thinking about how like he could go to OJ Simpson. He could go to
Or
Shark.
Shark. One of my finest moments on podcast.
Mhm. Yeah, I think since Ronaldo had the other Scrat episode, I was telling him about it in our one of the episodes we recorded, just like about talking to you about that, how you like really hates like Ronaldo mentioned how he hates Scrat. It was just like you're not the only one. Gordon also really hates
I
Scrat.
do not like Scrat. Scrat is bad. Scrat
Mhm.
sucks.
And then we move on to 2010.
Which I should know because we did it like a few months ago.
Yeah,
So that is
but it was a 3 episode day, so things might
it
blend together.
was. So it was Let's Pollute. Thug Ruffalo, our favorite Mark Ruffalo gangster movie, Thug Ruffalo.
Hmm.
Uh, is it just called The Thing? Or
The
the
Lost
the
Thing.
Lost Thing? The Lost Thing, Day and Night,
Hmm.
and um, is it
Think
one
of
I
like DreamWorks movies.
yeah. Did I like it or
I
not?
think you did. Yeah, you liked it more than I did.
Okay. DreamWorks is putting up a wall for me. I can't place it.
Circus,
Oh,
Afro, circus,
wait,
Afro.
wait. That's not a Madagascar short. Oh,
It
yes, it's
it
the
is
one
a
something.
Madagascar
Yes,
short.
yes. I forget what it's a trip to Madagascar or something.
Madagascar, a journey diary.
Right. That was the other one I was thinking of when I was talking about Genius Loki and how I liked that one more than you did purely on an animation level.
Mhm.
And it like gave it props in my book because I liked the animation.
The thing I remember with that one is that like I thought some of the animation was just kind of ugly, so it's just like it didn't really work as well for me as you did. Uh, but yeah, it's still an interesting film, and
I got the
Though
fly.
that was like a surprisingly good lineup, though. Like I love
Yeah.
Day for Night. The Gruffalo was surprisingly good. Let's Pollute's great. Madagascar, I still liked it. Lost Thing
Yeah.
is like the worst one there.
Yeah. And that's another one that I took points away because the animation was just so drab.
Hmm.
Also, the fly landed right in my hand and I got it. Little,
Nice.
it's like not a full fly, like a fruit fly. It was small. But yeah, sorry, I got that while you were. So if you heard me like screaming or like cheering to myself while you were talking, it's because I got the fly.
All right. And then we'll move on to our most recent episode, excluding, of course, this one, 2015.
So World of Tomorrow,
Yes.
We Can't Live Without Cosmos,
Yes.
Sanjay's Super Team,
Yes.
Bear Story,
Yes.
and another one
Same guy
was
who
in
did
there.
Christmas Carol.
Right. Oh God, what was that called? The Achilles type one.
Yes, it was meant to be the opening of a film
Oh,
about.
Prologue.
Yes.
Prologue, which I liked and you didn't.
Yeah, I have beef with Richard Williams, but it's okay.
Fair.
But yeah, we had a lot
Another,
of great episodes together. Like these were like solid years for
yeah.
the most part.
Sorry, there's another fruit fly. Oh no.
Well, get rid of your dang fruit.
I don't have any fruit.
But yeah,
I don't know. Yeah. No,
well,
that was a good year as well.
yeah,
Very
we started out like in our career together on this podcast. It's like we started out very poorly with that first year. But even then, I still loved two of those films. It was just
yeah,
Educated Fish. And then 47 was a bit mediocre. And then from there on, it was just like all great years.
smooth sailing.
Hmm.
And then this year, also, let me see if I can remember without looking right at my notes. No, I'm not. No.
Yeah, you
Thi-
you should know these.
this was also a good episode. I'll throw that in there. This also another good episode. Hot
Mhm.
take.
Yeah. Yeah, this was like I said earlier, I think this is four really great films and then the winner. Or it's
Yeah.
just like meanwhile you think it's three great films and then two mediocre ones, including the winner.
Yeah. Which is fair. I think I'm right. I agree with my opinion.
I agree with my opinion.
Isn't that great when that
Oh yeah.
happens?
We all have somebody we can agree with, which is ourselves.
Exactly.
But yeah, and as you were doing like listing off our episodes together, I'm realizing I could absolutely not do that because I everything blends together so thoroughly. I've been
Well, yeah, because you're
like
the one that you've watched all of them. I've only watched the ones that I've watched.
yeah. And it's just like and even just like thinking of my guests, even for the ones who only had like one episode, so it's like I could only associate these five films with them. It's just like it is rough trying to think back. And it's just like
Yeah,
I think I was
a lot
having
of years.
conversation. Hmm?
Lot of years to have to keep track of
Oh
five,
yeah.
3 to 5 movies for.
And it's like I remember having a conversation with Christoph once where I think it was on an episode at one point, and it was like talking about one of our previous years, how like I think it was I was talking about how the snowman lost to Sunday in New York or something, and it but I was like, no, it lost to Tango because I did that episode with Christoph. It was just
Yeah,
like
I think you also did that once with me. You like referenced like
probably.
I think when we were talking about prologue, you were like you referenced something about that Christmas Carol one, and I was like,
Yes.
"Hey, by the way, that was me.
Yeah, I
I'm
forgot.
the guest you're talking about there that didn't like that one.
Yes.
That mystery guest of which you speak was none
Oh
other
man.
than me."
I think that's not the only time that's happened also.
That's fair. It happens. It happens.
Oh my God. But yeah, it's this podcast has been a long time. It's nearly 2 years of
Yeah.
consistent uploads.
We started ours around the same time, right?
You were definitely before mine.
But not that much longer.
Probably not
It
much
was
longer, but
yeah.
I think probably like after like 10, 15, 20 episodes of yours maybe.
It could be. Could be. I'm also just around like a few months out from my 3 year.
Do you know when your first episode was?
It was sometime it was like the beginning of that August of 21.
Okay, yeah, mine started in
21? No. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it would have to be. What am I
Mine
yeah.
started at the start of July in 22, so almost a year.
Okay. So then no. I was
Yeah.
wrong. I was I was I was wrong. I apologize
But then
profusely.
again, it's just like time has conflated so long. And most of your run, like at this point, has been with me uploading an episode on the same day. And so
That's
it's
true.
just like
Yeah.
you just think it's earlier than it was.
Podcasts, how do they work?
Yeah. And I
Who
always
knows?
forget that I started on June 30th, and it's just like I really like at the beginning of July rather than starting on May 30th at the beginning of June. It's just like,
Yeah.
but
Let
yeah.
me actually or no, never mind.
Hmm?
No, nothing, never mind.
Okay. But yeah. And also, actually, I just realized this. I forgot to like mention this earlier in my script, but I'm looking at my list of episodes. This is the 100th episode if you include
Oh
bonus
wow.
episodes.
Oh wow!
So yeah.
Thank you so much. I am on. I mean, I'm honored in general to have been a part of this show for so long, but I'm especially honored to be here on your 100th episode.
Yeah, it's like but yeah, but also I sometimes I count bonus episodes, sometimes I don't. So it's just like this is one of my 100th episodes.
One
And
of many.
one of two.
Fair. One of two. Two is many. Two is more than one. That's
But many is at the very least three or more. But I think most people would say like five or more is many.
what does the dictionary have to say about many? I want
I
a large number of. Two is
Two is not large. Two is one more than one. Two is a couple.
yeah, but it's ambiguous. Shut up. No. Good podcast. Good episode. We did it.
I'm very happy for us. But just we'll just wrap things up really quick. Are there
Yes.
any final thoughts you'd like to share, Gordon, or anything you'd like to promote?
I can promote my own show, which we were just talking about.
Yes.
The Lone Acting Nominees. You've been on many times. I talk about movies that only received a single Oscar nomination, which is in one of the acting categories. How many times have you been on that? That's
I
also probably
think
around nine.
six. So
Let's
I've
see.
done two supporting actor episodes, one supporting actress, two
Let's see what
lead
we
actress
got.
episodes, and one lead actor. So that's yeah, six. So
Marathon Man, Best
yeah,
Little Whorehouse in Texas. Nell, Give Him Hell Harry, the one we just did, which was called
Escape Me Never,
Escape Me Never. Uh, Christ, why can't I think of the others
Lonely
that
Hearts.
Lonely Hearts? Is that it? Is there
Yep,
not one more?
that's
I guess we've just talked about plenty others that we are going to do in the future. So I
yeah.
was, yeah,
But yeah, we have my next episode planned, which will be coming at this at the same time as your next episode in this podcast, which we will keep under wraps for now.
for now.
For now.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I
Well,
don't
thank you
even
so much for having me again.
yeah, I don't even really know what I'm going to have you talk about when you do come back on, but
There's a few things we've
we
talked
have
about doing.
a lot of ideas written
Yeah,
down for you,
yeah.
including
I
Monster in My Pocket TV pilot.
Hell yeah. I forgot that I had said that, but yeah, I stand by that. That
So
that'll be something.
eventually I'll write down what you'll come back on. It's like that's one of the scary things about moving into my more easygoing kind of like episode themes. It's
Fuck.
just
Sorry,
like
I dropped something and it was loud.
I did not hear it. Did not come pick up on your mic.
Good.
But yeah, I just I have to come up with what my episodes are going to be about as well as come up with guests. And
Yes.
that's a lot. It's twice as much work as I normally do.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you're approaching the end much quicker than I am so far, just by nature of how our shows are structured.
Yeah.
But very excited to see what the next stage of your show is, and very excited to come back when it is in that next stage.
Yep. And you will. I will force you to.
Yes,
You've already promised me. And
I have.
if you don't, I will be sad.
I would also be sad.
But yeah. Well, thank you, Gordon, for coming on the
Thank you.
show. And
Thank you
thank
for
you,
having me.
listener, for tuning in. This has been the short podcast about short films. Until next time, goodbye.